To order the Environment's Teacher's Notes for the autumn term, price £1.40, the City Streets Workbook, price £2.95, the City Parks Workbook, price £2.95, and the Trees Software, price £17.75, please contact your local ITV company. Alternatively, send a cheque or postal order to Schools Publications Office, Thames Television, 149 Tottenham Court Road, London, W1P 9LL.
Every day, thousands of chimneys belch out smoke. Millions of cars, buses and lorries pump out fumes into the air that we breathe.
What is air pollution? Can anybody tell me what air pollution is? Yes?
It's a sort of infection.
An infection? It's not quite an infection, is it? What is air pollution, really? It's not quite an infection. Yes? It's not a disease, no.
It's air with dirt.
Exactly, it's air with dirt in it. It's air with things in it that we don't want in it.
Julian Adjiman is an environmentalist who works with classes like this one at Durand Junior School in South London.
All of us, every day, we all pollute the air, don't we? And can you name any activities that human beings do which cause air pollution?
Cars.
Cars, right, that's a very good one, a very important one. Cars, but not only
This class all think the air in London is polluted, particularly by traffic fumes.
Buses, vans, cabs, taxis. All of those different vehicles make pollution.
But can they prove it? The first experiment they're going to carry out is testing the exhaust fumes from two teachers' cars. This is the headmaster's car.
Right, we're going to leave this under for 10 seconds. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's have a look. Now then. Not that bad, is it? Well, it's a fairly new car, that's one thing for certain, isn't it? Okay. Now, look at all these little bits, though. Now, we say that's not bad, but that's one car. How long was it running for?
10 seconds.
How many cars do you think there might be in London? Have a guess, somebody.
4 million.
4 million. There might be something like about 4 million cars in London. Now, they don't just run their engines for 10 seconds, do they? How long do they run them for?
Hours.
For hours. So, in London as a whole, that represents only a very, very, very small proportion of the pollution that comes out, doesn't it?
The second car to be tested is an older one.
Right, now we'll just leave this one again about the same 10 or 15 seconds, because if we're doing an experiment, we've got to make sure that it's standard, haven't we? 8, 9, 10. Oh, look at that. Now then, that is a lot of pollution, isn't it? There, look at that. Look at that dirt. Now, that is one of the 4 million cars, isn't it? All right? Imagine, there must be tons of this stuff in the air, mustn't there? Does it make you feel a bit unhappy and scared?
Sick.
Makes you feel sick, yeah. Because you think, we're breathing that in, we're getting it on our hair, we're getting it on our skin, aren't we? What are we going to say to Mr. Nash about his car?
Clean it.
Clean it, right.
There are now 600 million cars in the world. That's 3 times as many as there were 10 years ago. And it's not just dirt they put into the air. Exhaust fumes from ordinary petrol also contain lead, and that can damage the brains of babies and young children. And since children are nearer the exhausts of cars than taller people, they breathe in more poisonous fumes than adults. So why don't more motorists buy petrol without lead in it?
Basically, I only bought the car last week. They haven't got it converted yet. But tell the truth, I haven't actually had any of my cars converted.
Well, I don't think my car's make unleaded. I'm not sure.
If I could get it unleaded, I would.
Have you checked?
It's too old. I've tried.
Can't bother to change over, I suppose.
But even if your family car runs on unleaded petrol, it still gives off dangerous gases. Carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides in exhaust fumes can damage the lungs. And it's not only cars that produce gases. What else pollutes the air? When it rains, these gases turn into another sort of pollution. Raindrops falling through the clouds of gas that build up absorb the chemicals and form acid rain.
What I want somebody to do, somebody from the acid rain group, is to put this probe into that water. OK, you're from the acid rain group. Do you want to put it in there? Now, we'll have to shake it about a little bit. Yeah, shake all the drops off it. That's it. And
the class are testing some rainwater they've collected. Pure water will measure 7. Anything more acid will measure less than 7.
Now, is that score going up or down?
Down.
Down. Does that mean that this then is more acid?
Yeah.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Now, it's going down. What is it now?
49.
49.
49. 48.
Well, it's 4.8, 4.7. Yeah. OK, let's just leave it at about that. Now, as we can see there, that rain is quite a lot more acid. So, what I think we can say, then, is what? That that's pure water, and that water that fell on Lambeth yesterday is not pure water. It must be acid rain.
When acid rain falls into lakes and rivers, what are the effects on fish and other water life? And what happens to trees and plants when acid rain falls on them? The acid rain caused by pollution in this country doesn't just fall on Britain. Acid rain isn't the only sort of invisible pollution made by human beings.
Now, there's another form of pollution that we need to look at. And this is another invisible form of pollution. And some scientists think this is perhaps the greatest threat to human beings that there's ever been. Anybody notice when they go out on a winter night, if it's a clear sky and you go out on a winter's night, is it usually mild or is it usually very cold?
Cold.
It's cold, isn't it? But if you go outside on a cloudy night, then it tends to be milder, doesn't it? It's certainly warmer because the clouds tend to hold in the heat like a blanket around the Earth.
The class decided to carry out an experiment with a duvet to find out what would happen to the air under a thick cover.
Okay, it's funny, doesn't it? Okay, what's the temperature in the room now?
22.8 degrees centigrade.
Very good, right. Now let's see what the effect of the duvet is. Okay, what's the temperature now?
25.3.
Okay, 25.3 degrees centigrade. So, is it warmer underneath the duvet?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? So, I think that shows you how cloud works, doesn't it? Cloud tends to keep in the heat, and underneath there, they must be getting pretty warm. Do you want to come out now?
Yeah.
Okay, come out. Now, just as a duvet traps in the heat, just as clouds trap in the heat, we are putting more and more pollution into the atmosphere, which again traps the heat.
Burning coal and oil in homes, factories and power stations produces a lot of carbon dioxide. Like the duvet experiment showed, as the blanket of gases gets thicker, the temperature goes up and up. It's a bit like being in a greenhouse on a sunny day, which is why scientists call this the greenhouse effect. And this will create a new problem.
Let's see what might happen to a farm in, say, Essex in 50 or 100 years' time. On these bricks, we're going to put some blocks of ice, which will represent the ice that is at the poles at the moment. And we'll leave the experiment for a few hours and see what happens when the ice melts, shall we?
In 50 or 100 years' time, the temperature of the Earth could be hot enough to make the polar ice caps melt.
Okay, now let's put this one on here. Okay, now, what do you think, if we came back when this ice was completely melted, what do you think might start to happen?
It'll flood.
It'll flood. What will happen to the animals?
It'll float away.
They'll float away. Well, what would happen to real animals? They'd drown, wouldn't they? They'd die. What would happen to the farmer? What would he or she have to do?
Swim.
Swim, exactly. Now, if the day came when the ice was actually starting to melt and the sea level was starting to rise, do you think all the animals would die, or what do you think we might do to them? Because remember, Essex is low-lying.
Take them in a helicopter.
To where?
Forest.
Another country, or...? Well, another place. A place where it's not flooded. Where is it likely not to be flooded? Essex is lowland. Scotland, because Scotland is higher land. Right. So we'd move the animals to higher land. That's what we'd have to do, wouldn't we? Now, how deep was it before? 5.5 centimetres. Let's see what depth it is now. 8 centimetres. So, with that small amount of ice, how much has the water risen? 2.5 centimetres. Let's have a look at the farm. This is our farm in Essex, remember. Essex is low-lying. What's happened to the farm? Yes. It's flooded, isn't it? What do the animals look like? What about this sheep here? Look. It's grazing, but is it actually getting anything, or is it just getting a mouthful of water? It's getting a mouthful of water. Farmer, it's up to his feet. Cattle, similarly, are in the water, aren't they? Now, what I managed to get is some maps to show what London might look like in the year 2050. Now, how old will you be in 2050? Let's have a quick calculation. How old will you be?
70.
Yes, about 70 years old. Okay, now, somebody from the Greenhouse Group, come over here with me and let's have a look at London in the year 2050. This is the Thames today, this light blue line. It winds its way up and down the Thames Valley. This is the new River Thames. Is it wider? Yeah. Much wider, isn't it? Sean, can you point to where Durand Junior School is? Okay. Where is it in relation to the River Thames? It's right on the shore of the river, isn't it? So this school here, in the year 2050, if this is right, could be on the shore of the River Thames.
So what will happen to buildings like the Houses of Parliament, which are already on the riverbank? What will happen to the politicians? Is it possible to slow down the greenhouse effect and stop the water rising? The only way to do that is to clean up the air by burning less fuel and making less gas. How can we cut down the smoke from power stations? How can we stop the number of cars on our roads going up and up? some people have already got the right idea.